Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. We are live Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And today we will be talking about the steps to an authentic you, part 4. We'll continue where we left off last week. Learn how to discover who you really are, what you feel, what you need, and what you want, and then be able to express that in healthy, appropriate ways. When you are living authentically, you can have healthier and more joyful, loving relationships with others and create an inspired and empowered life. Together, let's create a life you love. I'm your host, Nanci Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive breakthrough expert. And I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuition to transform your life. And this show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. And I see that we have Allie in the house. Good morning, Allie. Welcome. Glad to have you. And I want to answer some questions from last week. So hopefully we'll have our regulars joining in. And just to review what we've been talking about is, first, let's talk about what is really authentic. What is your authentic self? Your authentic self is the real you. And I see we have Charles. Welcome, Charles. Glad to see you're in the house. And your authentic self. So what is your authentic self? It's the real you. Last week, I was talking about your soul and your soul's light shining through, because at the core of who you are is soul. And you are this being of light and love. Now, it's hard to understand when we have a body full of flesh and bones. And yet there's this spark inside of us that wants to shine through and allow yourself to be the brilliant being that you are. And then I talked about last week how we have these clouds, the clouds that cover up the sun that we are. And it's clearing the clouds so that you can allow the light of your soul to shine through. And so last week, we had Anastasia, and she asked about, can we be sure we are connecting to the correct things? And she also asked, how do we know we are connecting to the things we are meant to be involved in? So the way that you know that you're connecting and that you're on the right path. So many of you wonder, okay, you're being you, and you think you're being authentic, and you're trying to be authentic, and then you wonder, am I on the right path? And the best way to know that if you're connecting to the right path, if you're on the right path, and here's the thing, sometimes paths can change, and you may be on the right path for the moment, and then all of a sudden, let's say, like when you're in your 20s or 30s, you could be on one path, and then all of a sudden you start in the 40s or 50s, you start realizing that's not where I need to be anymore. So things start shifting and transforming and changing, and you could be going through transitions. And it doesn't mean you were on the wrong path there and before. It means you are shifting, you're changing, you're moving to a different place or a different level. And Anastasia says, thank you for answering my question. And if you have anything else that you want to ask, let me know. So I know you're in the house. Thank you, Anastasia. And if you so it's really about knowing when you're on the path that you're meant to be on in that moment, in that time frame, it feels right. And what I mean by feeling right, it's it you feel perhaps it again, the best way to know if you're on the right path is by your feelings. If you're feeling a sense of peace, if you feel fulfilled or satisfied or content, then you know you're on the right path. Now, if you're starting to feel something feels like it wants to come through, something new. And that's what happens for me is that I am working with the people that feel there's something more, something else that wants to come through. And I'm coaching them to find the new way of being for them so that they can move to where their soul is guiding them to be, their destiny, so to speak. And I also want you all to know that if, like, I'm going to give you an example. What something that occurred to me is if you're a parent and you were raising your kids and it felt like that's where you need to be, that's what you need to be doing, you are on the right path. And then your kids grow up and they start having their own lives, and you start wondering, what about me? What's in it for me? Or what do I need? And you're starting to wonder, starting to explore. Know that the next path or what the transition is where you are. And you, in the transition, you'll be guided to where the next steps are. And I work with a lot of people, especially women, who want career changes or they want to add to their career. And I'll give you an example. So for many years, I've had my own business for almost 20 years. And I've been a holistic psychotherapist, and I was doing the counseling. And I think I talked about this last week. And then what started happening was my guidance, my intuition was guiding me. There's more. There's something else that I need to be doing. And I started feeling called to do more coaching. Now, I had actually taken a course to be an intuitive coach. And it was a few years before. after that I had taken the course, I started feeling, ooh, maybe there's something here. And so what ended up happening was I started finding out more about what do I have to do to be a coach and how does that look? Now, I haven't given up. I still have a handful of holistic clients, and I'm also being led by spirit. It's pulling me and teaching more people, more women, and helping more women to go to another level or a different place in their business than they were, or their practice. And that's what I'm doing now. So my intuition was guiding me to something different. And the reason why I'm telling you the story is because I want you to realize that your intuition is guiding you. Okay, so we have a question that came in from Misty. So let me answer the question. What if we don't have a direction to go in, or don't see the direction because we don't want to give up what has moved on? Okay, so Misty, when you say you don't want to give up what has moved on, is it that you don't want to give? I need more clarity to answer the question to really support you. So when you say you don't want to give up what has moved on, do you mean you don't want to give up the where you're at, or that you feel like you're done with where you're at, but you don't want to let it go? So can you give me more clarity about what you mean by that so that I can answer your question? And so hopefully, Anastasia, I answered your question about being on that path and making the connection. And again, the best way to know that you're on the right path, that you're in that authentic zone, is that you are feeling more happy, fulfilled, content, or you feel like you're moving in the direction that you're being guided by your intuition. Okay. So Misty says, for instance, if the kids have moved out and you now have to adjust. Okay. So if the kids have moved out and you now have to adjust, you may be going through a process of grief. And this is real. I mean, there is something called empty nest syndrome, and it's real. It's real because if you've been a mom and that's how you identified yourself, and then all of a sudden, it's not like you give up being a mom, okay? So even if the kids have moved out and moved on, you'll always be a mom, but they don't need you the way they used to. And there is a change and an adjustment period that you or people who are in the empty nest syndrome, or adjusting or working on adjusting to a different role, a different identity. Because if you were all about being a mom and giving all your kids and giving your attention to your kids, and very often moms don't take care of themselves. And when the kids are grown or growing, and then all of a sudden you realize, what do I want? What do I need? What do I feel? And now this may be any of you, okay? So I just really want you to know that if you're in a transition point in your life, and if the kids have moved out or moved on, then you're in a transition. Or if you're getting a divorce, you're in a transition. Or if you are wanting to switch careers, you're in a transition. So know that transitional points are really important aspects and important points in your life. And that this is a time for you to connect more deeply to who you really are, which is that authentic self. And so Misty, if you need to It's working on knowing that you're in this transition and that adjustment doesn't poof happen overnight, that it takes time. And so you're in your own journey. You're in a process that that is actually an exciting process, because as you explore more of who you are and what you want, then you can connect more deeply to what is it? What is it I really want? What is it that's going to fulfill me? What will help me create that my inspired and empowered life? And that's what I invite all of you to think about, to get really into more of your authentic self. It's connecting more deeply to your thoughts, to your feelings, to what it is you really want. What it is do you really need? And sometimes when you're givers or you keep giving to others, you don't even think about you. And I call this essential self-care. It's learning to start thinking about what you want and need and feel, because that your needs, your wants, your feelings are real, and you deserve to have them fulfilled so that you can feel more fulfilled in your life. Now, I know Country Corners came in with something. Okay, so Country Corner says, can you do a show about these transitional points? What are they, and when in life do they come about? How do we know it's a point to make a change? Sure. You know what? I thank you, because I know this is the last show of this piece, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's next. So transitional points. Sure. I will definitely do shows on that. And Anastasia says thoughts and feelings are the very things that are throwing things off. Okay. All right. So, okay. So I hear thoughts and feelings are um, so thoughts and feelings. How do you know when they're real and when they're from what I call the ego? So, first of all feelings are real. Okay. So I want to make that clear. And feelings are a guidepost. They really are. And that's why I'm always talking about feelings, because they're a really important guidepost to guide you perhaps in new directions, or to say that you're on the right path. So if you are feeling fear or sadness or grief, now if you in a transitional point, or you've had some type of loss. Now, loss doesn't always mean the loss of a dear loved one or a beloved pet. Loss can be loss of a job, loss of an identity, of what I was talking about before, like the loss of being a mom, where the kids need you because they were younger and now they don't need you. And you need to grieve that. That's a real loss. And if anybody says, oh, just get over it, I am going to tell you one of the things that's really important for all of you to know: feelings are real, and you need to value and acknowledge those feelings. And and if you're feeling like antsy, and there's something else that wants to come and you're not sure, that means that there's something else there that is wanting to come through. And it's okay if you don't know what it is yet. You just have a sense that something's coming through. Now, the thoughts part. Now, Anastasia, if you want to give me a little bit more of an example, then that would be helpful for me to help you more. And I'm thinking that what you're talking about is it that your thoughts and your feelings are different, or your thoughts? Okay. So Anastasia says, what should you do when people are not understanding your feelings and they think they know things better than you? So I am going to say to you, no one has a right to say that they know better than you what you are feeling. And if people are trying to put feelings or thoughts in your head or in your mind, thinking they know better than you, then that's not healing and it's not helpful. And I would really support you to let them know, listen, and they maybe want to helpful. Thank you for sharing, but this is my journey. This is what I'm feeling. Or if you're not sure what you're feeling and you're working on exploring it, but you know that you don't want other people saying this is what you need to feel or this is what you're feeling, that's not okay. It's not. And so I really want to acknowledge you for being able to realize that and know that you have a right to your feeling and any of your feelings. And if you're not really even sure or clear, that's okay. As long as you're on the journey to understand, you just know that you don't want other people telling you what you're feeling. So, and here's the thing. Like, for example, and this is where self-awareness, how I'm always talking about how important self-awareness is. Now, no one has the right to say, oh, you're feeling this, you must be feeling this. And I also want okay, so there's two sides of the road. There's their side and your side. Okay. And there's your part and their part. No one has the right to tell you what you feel or what you should do. And also know that if you are acting out your feelings like anger on someone else, that's not okay either. So, and if you're not doing that, then and they're trying to express what they're feeling, but they're not maybe doing it in a very healthy way. That's one thing. Okay. So it's as an authentic self, we need to be clear how our behavior is affecting other people. However, and I'm going to reiterate this, no one has the right to tell you what to feel. So Anastasia says, not only saying, but insisting that I am wrong with the way I want to handle things. Everyone keeps saying they have been through this and their way is the only way to do it. Okay, so Anastasia, there's a few things that are coming to me that I okay. So first of all, for someone to say this is the way that you should be doing it is not okay. And that you have your own journey and your own path. And you need to follow your journey and your path. And if you're making mistakes, to make those mistakes, because that's part of your soul and your soul's learning and experience. So if they're trying to tell you this is the way you should do it, that's not okay. And you may want to say to them, please stop. I need to follow my journey. I need to follow my path. And 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 if they're concerned about you, like if they see that you're, let's say, in the wrong relationship or you're getting hurt. Now look, if you're getting hurt and that someone else is seeing it, they may want to tell you, but again, ultimately, you're the one that needs to leave an unhealthy relationship. And hopefully you'll be able to see it if that's it. Okay, so I don't know the specifics. Or if there's something that is unhealthy behavior that you're doing and they're concerned about you. But if you're doing something that's not hurting yourself or others, and you're wanting to do it your way, no one has a right to tell you this is the way you should do it. And so I really want to make that really clear. Okay, so Charles says people don't always listen when you tell them to stay out of your business. So here's the thing. People don't always listen. And that is true. And again, this is about learning boundaries and learning to say stop. And if they're not listening, you have choices. Okay. If it's a family member and you don't want to let go of this relationship, then if things are not working out for you and it's not feeling right, you can say, you know what? I really am not, I don't want to hear this anymore. And if you're on the phone, say, if you don't stop, I'm going to hang up. And if you don't stop, if you're in person, I need to leave. So there's boundaries. There's boundaries there. Okay. And now here's the thing. If you're doing a behavior that's destructive to yourself and to others, that's a whole nother story. Okay. But I'm talking about things that you're working on, trying to figure something out about what path to take or your life or what's next in your journey. That's for you to understand. That's for you to really figure out for you. And no one has a right to try to impose that on you. So and really it's your path. And listen, I get that setting boundaries can be really hard. In fact, that's one of the biggest things in my life and in the work that I do with clients is learning to set those boundaries. Boundaries can be really challenging. And it's learning to set those boundaries, learning to say no, learning to say no to other people's behaviors that are not appropriate, that are not good for you, that are not healthy, and that you say, this is not good anymore. This is not working. And it can be really hard to say goodbye if it's someone you need to say goodbye to because they're not hearing you or they're not listening to you. That can be really hard. If it's someone that you want to stay connected with, it still can be hard to say no or to walk away. But also know that ultimately this is about your journey and this is learning. self-care. So I'm hoping that Anastasia, Charles, let me know if what I just said was helpful and if you have any other questions about what I just said. And I want to share with you, I have, for those of you who are ready, and you're ready to take your next step, and you want to discover more of what's next on your path, your career path, because that's what I'm doing is I'm helping coaches, healers, therapists, entrepreneurs, helping professionals go to another level of what they're here to do. And I have a master class coming up. Very exciting. 3 steps to boost your income in your holistic business. And it's for 3 days next week, Tuesday, October 15th, Wednesday, October 16th, and Thursday, October 17th at 7:30 p.m. And during the masterclass, we are going to cover discovering your soul's calling. You're going to learn how to break free from limiting beliefs that keep you from earning more money, and then get into action and learn how to make more money and turn your dreams into a reality. So, if you are ready, go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/masterclass. That's inspiredandempoweredliving.com/masterclass. And we are going to have a good time and really help you in your transformation. So I hope you'll join us. And Rebel, can you put the links in the chat? And I look forward to seeing you there. Now, back to steps to an authentic you. So here's the thing. There are going to be people who are going to try to say, you should do this, or you should do that. They want to should on you. And the worst thing is for you to be shoulding on yourself. Okay. No shoulding around. Okay. So this is about you learning to take your power back. So what does that mean? What that means is what I was talking about before, which is learning to set the boundaries, learning to say no, learning to tell people that, you know what, I don't really want to hear what you have to say. Now, I'm going to give you an example of stuff that I'll give you an example of what happened for me. So my parents, God bless them when they're alive, I knew that I needed to take certain classes. And I was always, when I knew that there was a class that I needed to take, I would take it. I would find a way to find the money. I would find a way to make it happen because I knew intuitively that this was part of my path. This was part of my destiny. And so I would find a way to make it happen. And I would be traveling. Sometimes I'd be traveling up to Massachusetts. I live in New York. I'd be traveling to Massachusetts, or I'd be traveling out to California. Or I would travel to Rhode Island. And I knew that I needed to do it. And my parents would say, "You're doing that again? Why are you doing that again? I don't understand. How can you do that?" And I would say, "This is not up for discussion. This is something that I need to do. And case closed. I'm doing it." Now, was it easy for me to do that? No. Did I do it? Yes. Because nothing was going to stop me from doing what I needed to do that I knew was good for me. And what I really want to support all of you is to really, this is again about learning to tap into your intuition and to feel, because your intuition also goes by your feelings, and to feel what's right. Maybe it is a class, maybe it's joining a program, maybe it's doing art or music or something that you haven't done before, or starting a hobby, or maybe it's going to counseling. Listen, if you need counseling or coaching, really want to support you in getting that. You know what's ultimately best for you more than other people. Again, I'm not talking about behaviors that are destructive to yourself or to others. Okay? I'm talking about your journey and your path of self discovery. And it's about learning to uncover the fogs, those emotions, those thoughts. Now, if you're in your head and you're obsessing and you're in thinking mode, then your job is to calm yourself down and to be quiet, to come out of your head and breathe. Remember, I'm always talking about the breath, and come out of your head and to listen to what you're feeling. Is something feeling uncomfortable? Is something feeling that you need to change? Is something feeling like you need to say stop or no? Or maybe it's a yes. You know. The biggest thing for you is to learn how to quiet the thoughts, quiet your mind, to get into that place of quietness so that you can then be able to be on the journey of what the next steps are. What's the next challenge? Or what's the next step or piece of the puzzle? And I really want to support all of you in knowing that you do know. That you know sometimes you need to reach out for help. You know that sometimes you know that you're on this path, that you're being guided by the higher part of you, God or higher power, your soul, your higher self, that wise, unconditionally loving part of you. And those are the authentic parts you want to be listening to. And so, again, how do you know? How do you know when it's an authentic part you're listening to and not an ego part? It's learning. Again, it's learning to be conscious and aware. It's learning to quiet those thoughts, quiet your mind, and ask questions. Sometimes asking questions can be the most valuable thing that you can do. Because when you ask a question, It gives those other aspects of yourself to answer the questions. So, for example, even asking, what am I really feeling? And listening and seeing what comes. Or what do I really want? What do I really want? It's asking. Charles says, yes, you got it. Thank you, Charles. What do you really want? Asking. And this is a real biggie that I share with clients all the time. What is for my highest and greatest good? What is for my highest and greatest good? And yes. And then Anastasia says, how do you know what we really want? And so asking the question, is this for my highest and greatest good? Because I'm always asking that question. Is this for my highest good? Or is this for my highest and greatest good? Because that is the path of soul. That is the path you want to follow. And when you're tuning in to that path, then you're following the path of your soul. And so what I really want to support all of you in is asking, is what's happening right now for my highest good? Now, if you get a in your gut, like a no, then ask what step, okay? Because you may not know the whole path. What step can I take for my highest good? Okay. And then you need to be open to listening. So even if the answer doesn't come in the moment, it may come during the day. Like someone may say something. Something may pop. You may get guided to a book or a TV show or a podcast. So you are being guided. So asking those questions, really want to support you in asking them. Now, I know that we had some questions. I see the question, and I want to answer your question more, Anastasia, and Country Corners. So, all right. So I am going to continue and ask and answer the questions next week. And I'm thinking that we're going to start talking about change and changes and transitions. And what does that all mean? So we're going to combine change, because I know one of you before had talked about talking about changes and how to make changes. And transitions are change. They're changes. They're forks in the road. So we're going to talk about more, all of that, more next week on the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. So if you want, remember, I have that masterclass, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/masterclass, starting next week. And join us for more inspired and empowered living on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And I want to, and we'll be continuing with the questions. Yes, Anastasia says change is difficult. We're going to be talking more about that, change and transitions, okay? So join us next week for more inspired and empowered living. And we're live Tuesday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern. And again, on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And I want to wish you all an inspired and empowered day and an inspired and empowered week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.